Welcome to Swamp Chat, brothers and sisters. I'm your host, Steve Vest. A while back, I had a couple fans request if I had any Led Zeppelin stories. I remember one person particularly asked me if I had any, and the answer is yes. In 1969, Led Zeppelin were starting their first American tour, promoting that album that was so great, with Good Times, Bad Times, Dazed and Confused, How Many More Times, Lemon Song, Killing Floor, great music. This is what happened. I always went to the downtown Coliseum to see all the famous bands by myself. Always went alone so I could get backstage and meet as many people as I could. That was my main focus. After the concert, I went over to the left side of the stage, and I told the Coliseum security that I was a side man and played harmonica for Greg and Dwayne Allman. Well, that opened the doors like magic, and he said, "Oh, I know who you are. We're familiar with you, Steve." So they already knew me. So they said, "Let's go." They went up there to get Led Zeppelin security, and Led Zeppelin security talked to him and motioned for me to come on. And he said, "I'm sure the boys would love to meet you, Steve." So I went with Led Zeppelin security to the dressing room. Now, he required that I stand outside, but he left the door open. And he began to, I heard them talking inside, and told him that there was a side man that played the harmonica for Greg and Dwayne Allman that would love to meet all of you. And then I heard him say, "Oh yes, we'd love to meet him. Bring him right on in." So he came back with a great big grin on his face, and he said, "The boys will love to meet you, Steve. Come on in." So I walked in, and I'm right in the presence of some of the musicians that I really looked up to: Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham. And Robert Plant was sitting down in a chair, slowly smoking a cigarette. Jimmy Page was the one to greet me. He had twinkling eyes, man, just real warm, friendly eyes, very talkative person. And John Paul, they were the two that rushed right up to greet me. And they said, "We're so happy to make your acquaintance, Steve." And John Bonham, a little more standoffish. He was smoking a cigarette, and he was standing there, but he had a grin on his face. They said, "We love to meet you American musicians." And I said, "Well, I've been playing with Greg and Dwayne for quite some time now." And I said, "I want to thank you, Jimmy, for that great band that I so much enjoyed your music during the high school years, the Yardbirds." I said, "Because of that band and the lead harmonica player, I was able to play not only with Greg and Dwayne's bands, but some other musicians in Jacksonville, an upcoming great rock and roll band who just changed their name from 1% to Lynyrd Skynyrd." Well, Jimmy looked at me and he said, "What's a Lynyrd Skynyrd?" Well, I laughed and I said, "Well, Lynyrd Skynyrd actually is the name of their coach at their high school. He threatened a couple of them that if they didn't get their hair cut, they wouldn't graduate." So Jimmy said, "Aha, payback time." I said, "Yes, they changed their name to Lynyrd Skynyrd." And I said, "I think they're going to be every bit as hot as the Rolling Stones." So we talked about the Yardbirds, and then we talked about, they asked me, "What are your plans for the future, Steve?" And I said, "Well, I have my own band, joined a band called the King James Version, where I've become the lead singer with a great slide guitarist, Drew Lumbar, and I'll see how that band works out. I want to continue as a side man for Greg and Dwayne, and I love playing as an opening act and playing the harmonica when I can, and side man, and play a 12-string guitar for this great new band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I said, I really think they're going to go far, Jimmy. Well, I had a great time. I spent about at least a half hour with them, and we said our goodbyes, and I went my way. This is part one. Part two is in 1973 when Led Zeppelin returns to Jacksonville. What Led Zeppelin has to say about Lynyrd Skynyrd, and what the Who has to say about Lynyrd Skynyrd. Brothers and sisters, I'll see you at the next swap chat.